Have you ever felt like you're doing all the things to be visible, yet it still feels like there's no one really seeing or hearing you? You're posting, you're showing up, you're doing all the right things, you're following what the experts say, but something is missing. Well, that missing piece is likely connection. This is what makes someone stop scrolling and think, wow, she really gets me. It makes them sit up and listen and want to know more. So today, we'll be exploring how we can foster connection with our content through that lens of the client journey. Connect is where it all begins, that spark that turns people who don't know you into raving fans and clients. Welcome to the Powerful Content Podcast, your go-to source for content creation, strategy, and business inspiration. I'm your host, Mel Daniels, content strategist, coach, and speaker, empowering women across the globe to grow their business with powerful content that connects, nurtures, and converts. So, if you're ready to create standout content that gets you noticed and remembered, or build an aligned audience who love you and are ready to buy from you, you're in the right place. I believe that content has the power to connect us all. It's up to you how you use it. Listen in for genuine and insightful chats with guests, as well as practical tools and strategies from me. It's so lovely to have you here. Let's dive into the show. I acknowledge the Wongal people of the Eora Nation as the traditional custodians of the country that I am recording from today. I recognise their continuing connection to the land and waters. I pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all First Nation people listening today. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to episode 186 of the Powerful Content Podcast. It's been a beautiful week weather-wise in my part of the world. There's something really special about spring that makes you want to be outside. I love taking my laptop out in the fresh air. It really clears the cobwebs, I think. So today is the first dive into the stages of the client journey, and we're starting with the first stage, connect. So make sure that you go back and listen to episode 185 if you haven't already, as it'll give you a really good understanding of the client journey, why it's so important, and how we use our content to move our ideal client through it. So I'm going to start this episode with a story about how powerful connection can be with your content. A little while ago, I had someone reach out to me who I knew of and who had been in my world a little while. And she said, I already know I want to work with you. I just need to know which option is the best. So there was no sales call. There was no pressure. There was no convincing, no hard sell. It was really easy and really beautiful. And I know that when someone comes to me like this, then we've been able to form a strong connection and they've moved through the client journey through to the point of conversion. She'd already connected with my content. She'd been following for a while, listening to my podcast, and really resonating or liking my perspective on how I look at content. By the time she reached out to me, the decision was already there. It was already made in her heart and she knew. And that's really the power of connection. When you consistently show up in alignment with your values, the right clients naturally lean in and you don't have to chase or push. They just come to you ready to work with you, which is pretty cool. Connection content isn't about manipulation or following a formula. It's simply about being you. So let's talk about this first stage, connect, and what it's really about. So the connect stage is all about first impressions and that moment that someone discovers you and starts to feel something. It's when they move from not knowing you at all to thinking, well, she actually might be my kind of person, or she has a really interesting point of view. And now this does not mean that you have to be perfect. When we think of first impressions, we think about putting our best foot forward, but you don't need to look perfect, sound perfect all the time, just in case someone is watching and is ready to connect with you. This is more about being who you are at the core and sharing your unique perspective with the world. So at this point, your audience doesn't need to know everything about what you offer. They just need to sense that you understand where they are and what they care about and that you care about them. So connection obviously can't be forced. If you try to force connection, then eventually that's going to come back and haunt you because it's way, way, way too exhausting trying to be like someone else or someone who you think you should be. So, here in this stage, your content is really about showing up in ways that feel true to you and creating content that makes your ideal client feel seen and heard, not sold to. It's like that old dating analogy. You wouldn't ask someone to marry you on the first date. You need to get to know each other before the commitment. And the same goes for your ideal client. They need to feel like you're someone that they can trust and rely on. And they're not going to feel that if you're constantly whacking them with offers and trying to push them into a sale straight away. So I really want to emphasize here that this isn't about visibility for visibility's sake. It's visibility with purpose to create a relationship, which is something I believe that's truly missing from the way that content marketing is taught. Connection isn't about following a formula or about algorithms, it's about resonance. It's the energy behind your content, it's that vibe that makes people feel safe and curious at the same time. So there's probably a few mistakes that I see in this connect stage of the client journey. And once again, this isn't your fault. These challenges and behaviors that I see that block connection are a result of what you've learned to be true about content. So hopefully today we can undo that. So one of the biggest mistakes I see is something that we've already touched on, and it's trying to be like someone else or someone we think we need to be. That is just plain hard work. And whilst it might work for a while, it's honestly not sustainable to put this false mask or persona on, both in your content as well as the work you do with clients who come to you. And this doesn't mean that you have to bare your soul to the world to show the true you. I'm not talking about doing things that feel uncomfortable just because you feel like you have to share things about you. You don't need to talk about your failures, your relationship issues, your past experiences or traumas unless they are part of the story that you want to tell and that your ideal client needs to hear. I know a business owner who has 4 daughters. She actually has triplets, yet she never mentions anything about them in her content. I know of people who have medical conditions that they never mention anything about them. Yet there's others out there who have 0 boundaries in their content. So being more you isn't necessarily about opening up your personal life, but opening up your soul by sharing your values, your beliefs, and your perspective on what your ideal client could be, do, or have as a result of working with you. It's subtle, yet a very important difference. Now, the second mistake I see is people speaking to everyone instead of someone. And we all know what happens when we do this. This usually comes from a place of service, especially for heart-led entrepreneurs, as you really want to help as many people as possible. I get that. I do too. But the result of this is watered down content that really doesn't connect with anyone. So we all know that when you're trying to appeal to everyone, you end up using vague language and ideas that don't truly land with your ideal client. So when you focus on that one beautiful person and really understand what they're thinking, they're feeling and doing at each stage of that client journey, then that's when your message starts to resonate, because they'll read your words or hear your voice and think, oh, that's me. That's exactly what we want at this stage, a moment of recognition that actually starts a relationship. And then the third mistake I see is probably hiding behind your expertise. So I know you know your stuff and you want to come across as professional and credible, but in doing so, you may end up sounding just a little bit distant. Your audience doesn't connect with the perfectly formed ideas that you come up with, they connect with you. When every post is overly polished or overly formal or overly perfect, it really puts a wall between you and the actual people that you're trying to reach. So it's okay to show your quirks, your humor, your introversion, your heart, your unique way of seeing things. That's what makes your content magic. You can still totally be the expert whilst letting people see the human behind the brand. So it's not about proving your knowledge to people. It's about showing who you are. And once people feel like they know you, the expertise becomes the bonus. So now you know what connection is and the mistakes that you can make with your content at this stage. How do you actually do it? How do you create genuine connection? Now, you know that I am not about formulas or one size fits all tactics here. So that's not what I'm going to give you. What I want you to know is that there are 4 things you can do to help guide your content in the right direction. So the first thing is know who you're speaking to. And we've already mentioned this. There's a no brainer, right? So when you speak to everyone, you end up with this really vague message. Knowing your ideal client goes deeper than knowing their age or their job title or how much they earn. Think about what your client feels. What are they feeling in their day to day? What thoughts are running through their head when they go to do what it is that you specialize in? And if you need some fun guidance to help you articulate who your ideal client is, then make sure you download my unboring ideal client avatar workbook. The link is in the show notes. So at the end of the day, when you can speak to your ideal client's emotions rather than just her goals, they'll instantly feel connected. So that's the first one, knowing who you're speaking to. The second thing is showing up where it's easy for you. So if you hate being on Reels, please don't do it. Please don't do Reels. If you love talking, maybe podcasting or lives are your thing. When it's easy for you, your energy comes through. And remember, that's what creates resonance and that's connective. So I would rather see you consistently, and again, however consistency looks like for you, I'd like to see you consistently showing up where you feel comfortable and it feels easy than burning out trying to be absolutely everywhere. I really encourage you to start small and then add or subtract as you need to. And if you want to know more about how to do this, then you can go back to episode 167, where I talk about the concept of minimum viable content and how it saved my business and my sanity. So the third thing is to share from the heart. Now, there is a difference between content that educates and content that connects. Connection happens when you share your perspective, your experiences, and your why. And in this age of AI, it is so easy to default to educational content simply because AI will spit out educational content because it doesn't do connection. It doesn't understand human to human connections and really struggles to articulate it. It's your stories, your values, your heart, your beliefs that makes the difference. And AI can't do that. Well, can't do it yet anyway. So share from the heart. And lastly, the fourth thing is be consistent in your energy, not just your frequency. So this one's a bit of a tough one. It's something that I do struggle with at the moment. I still have 2 casual jobs I love, a family, a life, and a business. So there's not a lot of wiggle room there. But consistency isn't about posting every day. It's about the energy behind your message. It's the reason why I've gone from posting on social nearly every day to just 2 to 3 times per week. Instead of rushing to kind of tick it off my to-do list, I'm more focused on using my precious time to genuinely show up to help you. And it's funny that people can feel the difference even through a screen. So those 4 things again that I think that will really, really help you with your connection content is knowing who you're speaking to, showing up where it's easy for you, sharing from the heart, and being consistent in your energy, not just the frequency. Okay. So now you know how to do your connective content. How do you know it's actually working? Well, I think that there's probably a few subtle ways that you can feel like it's working. And it's that shift where you start to attract more of the right kind of people, those who get you, share your values, who you feel easy to talk to. So you may see more people join your email list, which we'll talk more about next week in the subscribe part of the client journey. But they can't subscribe until they've connected with you. So your email open rate may increase as well, and people may begin to reply to your emails. And most importantly, you will notice something shift in yourself because you'll start to enjoy creating content again. Okay, it's now that time of the episode where I'd love to invite you to take a moment to reflect on how you can bring the awareness from today's episode into your own content. So think about your responses now or come back and journal on them later. The first question is, what do I want people to feel when they first discover me or my brand. Now, remember, connection's emotional. Consider whether your current content really evokes the feelings that you want, whether that's curiosity, comfort, inspiration, trust, whatever it is. But how do you want them to feel? The second question is, what stories, beliefs, or values do I hold that my ideal client needs to hear? Now, these are the absolute deeper threads that help people see themselves in your message. When you share from this space, you connect heart to heart, not just head to head. And the last question is, am I showing my audience who I truly am or who I think they want me to be? So it's so easy to slip into performing for our audience, but real connection happens when we let our true energy lead. So you've probably realized by now that connection isn't a strategy. It's just a way of being in your business. When you focus on it first, everything else flows more easily. But actually knowing how to bring that to life in your content consistently and confidently can feel a little tricky, right? So that's exactly why I created the Content Effect. It's my monthly membership designed to support you to create content that connects, nurtures, converts without feeling overwhelmed with it all. Inside, you're going to find practical trainings, live calls, and a beautiful community, so beautiful, of like-minded, heart-led entrepreneurs just like you, who are all learning how to show up in a way that feels good but gets results. The link to join us is in the show notes. So make sure that you stay tuned for next week's episode. In fact, go and hit subscribe now, as I'll move into the subscribe stage. And we will learn how to deepen those connections and start building trust in a way that feels 100% natural and human focused. Talk soon. Thanks so much for listening. That's it for another week. To get more powerful content in your life, make sure you're following along on socials. My handle is @meldbusiness. And just in case you're wondering, the groovy music for this podcast was created by Just Here on SoundCloud. I'd also be super grateful if you took a moment to rate and review this podcast so more amazing women like you can experience the power of content. And if you're like, hell Mel, stop talking, I'm ready to work with you now, here's how we can work some powerful content magic together. Firstly, come and join the Content Effect, my membership inspiring women with service-based businesses to ditch the content chaos and start creating stand-out content that gets you noticed and makes sales. You can join us by using the link in the show notes or just Google the Content Effect. The second way we can work together is via my one-on-one packages. We can create a sustainable content strategy or start to build out your client journey. It's up to you. Hop on over to meldbusinessservices.com.au/services to find out more. Until next time, have a beautiful week and embrace the power of your content.